I'm Frank von Hippel. I'm a nuclear physicist. I've been at Princeton since 1974, working on nuclear weapons issues. And I see this as a great opportunity with the election of President Trump and the response of citizen uprising, that this may be an opportunity to move our agenda forward on nuclear disarmament. I was part of the last wave in the early 1980s when we rose against the early Reagan administration and helped end the Cold War and the nuclear arms race and reduced the number of nuclear weapons we have. But there's still too many. They're postured too dangerously. Launch on warning. We still have one man who can order their use. So all these issues have to be dealt with, and I would welcome that the citizen uprising that President Trump has stimulated to develop a nuclear dimension as well, to try to move our nuclear agenda forward toward nuclear disarmament.
Well, science is just a bunch of tools, and there's nothing magic about science. It just happens. I enjoy mathematics. I enjoy calculating things. So I make a living doing science. I don't regard that as being any particular qualification to be wise, but it is the most important thing about science as far as the public is concerned is it is a real international activity. We really do operate with our friends all over the world. So we have very good connections with countries which normally are regarded as enemies. That's why we are useful, I would say, for this kind of situation. You want to talk about nuclear weapons, not just with your friends, you want to talk with your enemies. Scientists are the best people to do that because they happen to know their enemies already.
My name is Joseph Taylor, and I'm professor of physics emeritus at Princeton University. I happen to have been awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1993. My own work is in astrophysics. It has to do with the discovery of pulsars and their interaction, particularly in a binary pulsar system that gave us confidence that gravitational radiation, as predicted by Einstein's relativity theory, actually exists. I've had a wonderful life in science and in physics. I believe that science is extraordinarily important in today's world, important to the development of technologies which have made lives more happy and generally more prosperous. I think it's extremely important to the nation and to other nations that scientific knowledge inform public policy. And that's the primary reason that I'm here at this session today. I simply want to lend my support to the efforts that are being made to limit the distribution of nuclear weapons, to limit their number, to in fact stigmatize them to the effect that they will be seen as negative contributions to the stability of the world and the good for the citizens of the world.
I'm Alex Glaser. I work at Princeton University. I am trained as a physicist, but I do arms control and nuclear disarmament for a living. I support the ban treaty movement. I think there has not been much progress in nuclear arms control and disarmament. The NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, is important, but it hasn't really delivered what I think the international community expects. I believe now is the time to move the agenda forward and really make progress toward nuclear disarmament. I work with students, I teach students who were born in 1990. They have not seen much progress since then, since the end of the Cold War. They don't really understand what others mean by a step-by-step approach when since the mid-1990s we haven't really seen much, if anything. So I think the ban movement is kind of is very important in kind of changing this, or making a difference in this stalemate.
Hi, my name is Jonathan King. I'm a professor of molecular biology at MIT. I've kind of made my scientific living studying organisms, little things, proteins, the building blocks and machinery that all living things depend on. I've always been interested in how things get built, how organisms get built, how a seed becomes a plant, how an egg becomes an embryo. In the 1970s, most of the nations of the world signed a treaty, the Biological Weapons Convention, strongest disarmament treaty in human history. It banned the use of human weapons, banned the development, banned the stockpiling of them. And we really thought we had put a genie back in the bottle. But then in the early 1980s, President Reagan revived claiming the Soviet Union was an evil empire. And he revived spending tax dollars on biological weapons. He called it the Biological Defense Program, opening up old laboratories. And together with a few colleagues, we organized a national campaign, a petition campaign of biological scientists who pledged that they would not use their skill and talents to work on military uses of biology. And we were able to get enough publicity to pressure the key committee of the Senate. John Glenn, the astronaut, was then the chair of it, to get them to take the key step of fully ratifying the Biological Weapons Convention. Definitely a step forward. So we know these things can happen. Nuclear weapons, for anybody who has any concern for living things, nuclear weapons which obliterate, incinerate every living thing, plants, animals, insects, microorganisms, worms, beetles, in the blast zone in a way that they won't recover from for thousands of years. These have no place in human society at all, of any kind. And so, I'm here at the United Nations with many, many other scientists, hoping that the United Nations will bring pressure to get rid of these nuclear weapons forever, and rid the Earth of the scourge of this insane weapons of mass destruction.
My name is Xia Mian. I'm a physicist. I work at Princeton University in the program on science and global security, where I've been for 20 years. And my training in physics, actually in the early 1980s, overlapped with the heightening of the Cold War under President Reagan. And that led to many questions being asked of scientists and physicists in particular about nuclear weapons, and the need for the public in democracies to be able to understand what their governments are doing when it comes to the threat of use of nuclear weapons and the possibility that such weapons would actually be catastrophic for humanity. This was also the time that Carl Sagan was introducing the world to the ideas of nuclear winter and what would happen if there was a large-scale nuclear war between the United States and the Soviet Union. So I actually met Carl Sagan. We overlapped in several conferences. And this was a very important time for scientists to think about their responsibility in democracies. And if you ask the question why scientists have a special role in democracy, then I think the focus has to be the fact that scientists as citizens have an obligation to bring whatever skills and insights they have and share it with the rest of the citizens in their societies and with humanity at large, because we have the privilege of being given the time and the opportunity to devote to understanding the way the world works. And we have an obligation to share that understanding with everybody who's possibly interested in that, so that they can make the best possible decisions concerning themselves and the world they live in, and how that world is managed and governed by those with power over it. And when it comes to nuclear weapons, this is an especially important responsibility. So I've been very privileged all my life as a scientist to be able to try and combine my training in science, in physics, with the responsibility of citizenship to try and engage citizens and people everywhere in the debate about what nuclear weapons mean and how humanity can free itself from the scourge of nuclear war.